Okay, I wanted to get a couple more flights on the Eachine Mini P47. I've got it in beginner mode. I've got my TX16S I'm flying it with. I do have to bind to it each time with the TX16S, but that's a minor irritant to be able to fly this with a hobby grade transmitter. Wind is picked up. It's supposed to be 3 miles an hour wind out here today, and it's 527 now. So I kind of wanted to see how this would handle a little bit of wind. Let's get it near. I tossed it into the wind there, going downwind, coming into the wind. Well, I tell you what, if I had a couple mile an hour more wind, if it was kicking up to 7 to 9 instead of 5 to 7, I think I could hover it. You know, this little plane, for its size and its weight, it seems to generate a lot of lift. That's pretty slow. Now, I've got an old 550 milliamp hour 1S. Woo! 1S LiPo in it right now. Nice little crosswind going there. I don't know how well this battery is going to hold up because it's an old one. Oh, and as I stated in my last flight video, I did change the aileron linkage to give me, look how slow, to give me full movement mechanically on the ailerons, and I also have the rudder adjusted so that I could get maximum movement on the rudder as well. Come on, wind, pick up a little bit so we can hover this plane. Whee! And with a hobby grade transmitter, that has worked out very well. Even in beginner mode, you can make some very tight turns with it. Check that out. Okay, so watch this turn. See that? It just slews right around with all that rudder I'm inputting into it in beginner mode. So if you make those adjustments, you know, more the maximum aileron movement, you know, on the linkage and the maximum rudder movement on the linkage, you can fly this in a pretty small area, even in beginner mode. Because when I first brought it out with the stock setup, I think everything was stock on the linkage, except, you know, my experience dictates that the elevator is going to be a bit twitchy. So I did adjust the elevator linkage to soften it up a bit when I performed a review video of it. But the ailerons and the rudder were in the stock position, and in beginner mode it was pretty darn wide turns, you know, even with full stick deflection. So making those adjustments on the aileron and the rudder certainly help in beginner mode. You have to be really careful with it in intermediate mode, and especially in manual mode, because if you're flying too slow and look at that, that's in some wind, and you're inputting a lot of rudder and you're flying too slow, it will tip stall on you. Look at that, right over my head. But in beginner mode, it is just fine, even in some wind. So this is 5 to 7 mile an hour wind. I wish I had more so that I could hover it, but I'm guessing this plane would probably handle, you know, just fine in 8 to 10 mile an hour wind in beginner mode. And for me, that kind of stuff is really fun when you've got enough wind that you can hover them in place. That is a lot of fun. Isn't that cool, though? Look at that. Some tight turns in beginner mode. Especially since I'm not flying it with a lot of speed. Look at that. That is so cool. Oh, hitting some wind there. Okay, so I'm starting to get my haptic. So let's get over here and see if we can do a touch and go real quick before we land. We did it. Touch and go. Okay, so my timer has elapsed. Let's bring it back around and land it. That is such a cool little plane. Excellent beginner plane. It practically lands itself, and you know that's really good for me because you know that I am not known for my stellar landings. But did you see that wasn't a significant crosswind, guys? That it just landed like that. I mean, that gyro is just rock solid. Excellent beginner plane. You will have a lot of fun with it. And I only have a 400mm battery left. This is my third flight with it this morning or this afternoon. So I'm going to wait a minute and see if the wind will pick up even more, and then I'm going to put that 400mm amp-hour battery in it, and just to see if we can get close to hovering with it. So see you in a minute. Okay, so it feels like I'm getting more wind, but you know, it picks up and then it dies down, and it picks up and it dies down. But anyway, let's see if we can get this back in the air again, and let's see if we can do a touch and go on this little dirt lane that I'm pulled off of. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. I think this would be able to touch down and get back in the air with the slanted gear. So let's see here. Into the wind. Ready? Takes right off. Let me back up out of the way. Let's see if we can come straight across into the wind and do a touch and go. Can we do that? I don't know. Depends on the wind. Oh, the wind's picking up now. We did it! I was not sure if I was going to be able to keep it over the lane or not, or run into the scrub. Kind of drifting on me there. Come on, wind. I would love to be able to hover this. So close, so close. That's not even a mile an hour forward speed right there. So close to being able to hover it. The wind would just pick up a little bit more. Just a little bit more, come on. That is pretty slow, isn't it? Going downwind. That is slow. Oh man, if I just had 2 miles an hour more, maybe even 1, and I would be able to hover it in place. This is such a fun plane. I'm going to have to bring it out in some significant wind. Look at that. Rock solid gyro, guys. Rock solid. That is too cool. Woo! There's some wind. Come on. Come on, wind. Oh, just not enough. Just not enough. Darn it. I can usually count on this place for a lot of wind the vast majority of the time, you know? Come on, wind. Come on, wind. We're so close. We're so close to getting a hover out of it. So close. Maybe I just need to gain a little altitude, you know, because usually when I'm 30 or 40 feet up in the air, there's significantly more wind because the foothills around here, I'm kind of in a bowl, you know, and the foothills here kind of block a little bit of the wind. Well, quite a bit of the wind. Come on. Oh, so close, so close. Look at it, it's almost a kite. The foothills block so much of the wind. Once you get up about 30 or 40 feet in the air, you usually have about 50% more wind than what I'm feeling down on the ground. So let's see here. It's picking up a little bit. It's picking up a little bit. If I can keep it pointed into the wind. Come on. Oh man, that is almost a hover, guys. That is almost a hover. I bet you it wasn't moving forward even a half a mile per hour. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to bring it out when I've got at least 10 mile per hour wind, I would say. That will be a blast. Look at that, in beginner mode. That is in beginner mode. And look how tight the turn is. You see that? That is slick. Look at that. That is awesome. Whee! Whee! Oh man, this plane is so much fun. Timer's elapsed. Alright, we'll bring it back around and land it on this little dirt lane directly into the wind this time, instead of on the main road, because this requires so little distance, you know, to land it. Get it over the berm. Look at that. Did you see? I bet it didn't roll a foot forward when it touched the ground. That is awesome. Like I said, this plane practically lands itself in beginner mode. Awesome little plane. I am having so much fun with this. Just cruising it around, doing really tight turns, trying to hover it in the wind, doing touch and goes. I mean, it is a fun little plane. So, with that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.